Welcome and greetings, everyone. Today being a Sunday here, usually Eeka has some time off, so I'm in a little different space right now because I'm going to be telepathing with him on a subject we had considered talking about before because of some of the interactions that I have had mostly with individuals concerning religious beliefs and what can be done to mitigate the fears, which are genuine and real, of people who hold religious beliefs with disclosure and interaction with off-planet beings, humanoids, insectoids, you name it, reptilians. And not all reptilians are bad. So I'm going to just try to do a discussion with him today on this. We're not trying to influence people. We're not trying to change beliefs. We're not trying to say religions are bad or good or what have you. That's really for every individual to work through themselves. We're also not threatening anyone. And I think that's one of the main points that we're going to try to bring forward today. So I'm going to telepath with him our conversation. And sorry about a little bit being maybe a little monotone. That's what happens when I try to relax and open up so I can hear him. So I have to kind of, get in that state of being. And this isn't anything to be afraid of. And I know some people are concerned with telepathy. They don't realize they've already been doing it. It's just another way of receiving information. Like you see things, you smell things, you hear things. While you can feel the energies of things. This is physics. It's not magic. It's not black magic. It's not white magic. It's quantum entanglement. So I know that won't mean anything to a lot of people, but just want to throw it out there. Maybe the seed will get planted. Like I say, it's never my intent to tell people what to think, and you just got to feel that through yourself. And that might be something people want to think about. Again, it's like, you want to think about stuff yourself. Think about things, how it relates to you, how it makes sense to you, right? And think about religions in that sense. Does it make sense to you? You're just following the rules that somebody put over you. Something to think about one way or the other. Now, we're always going to have rules anyway, I guess one way or the other, but what resonates with you? So this series, not only with Eeka, but with our other star friends upstairs and downstairs. Eeka is actually here on Earth right now, working with the United States Air Force in the Special Forces Division. He's a commander, and much of his day is spent with officers, which he would rather spend with the airmen. But we all are here experiencing existence, right? This podcast, Growing Up Alien, is Eeka and I working together. The Federation requested us doing this to create a space for inclusion. This is not an exclusive. I don't care if you want to disagree with us, or you're welcome here. You're welcome to put stuff in the comments. Everyone is welcome here. You can, like I said, you can disagree with us. You have a right to disagree with people. You have a right to be afraid. You have a right to feel comfortable. You have a right to say what you wish. So we would love to have individuals connect with us. You can connect with Eeka through telepathy, sadly, only through telepathy at this point. So you can talk to him if you so wish. Now, I will say most likely he'll only telepath with those who have good intentions because he can read you. So if you approach him with bad intentions, he won't telepath with you. But if you approach him with a vulnerability, with love, with compassion, with a desire to share an experience with another being in a state of love, he will telepath with you. He has telepathed with many of my friends, and he spends time with them. He'll spend time with you. He loves to spend time with humans, pure Earth humans. He's human. I think that's one of the main points he always tries to bring through for people is that he's an Earth human. I mean, he's on Earth now. He's on Earth, but he's not an Earth human. He's from the planet Erra. He was born on that planet, just like I was born on Erra, and then my consciousness was moved to an Earth body. Neither of us were born on Earth. I was born on Erra as well. It's just had my consciousness moved over to this body. He is here on Earth in his original Pleiadian body. That doesn't make it weird. I don't understand why people would love is love no matter where you're from, no matter what country you're born on or what planet you're born on. It's your intentions, your who you are as a being. So I just want to really reiterate the concept of inclusion here, and I want to kind of step back just a little bit. You may have to bear with me while I wait for him to come through with his comments, because in telepathy I have to kind of like not only hear him speak but kind of express what he's saying through feelings and emotions. So I wanted to ask him about inclusion. He says inclusion is necessary. This is him speaking. Okay. Inclusion is necessary for unity to be able to express itself and exist. When you create realms of exclusion, you create discord. This concept of discord goes against your earth religions, because it is in through discord that he's trying to say something. I'm trying to translate it. He says that it's through discord that you are encouraged to fight each other, to create violence, to find that which is in each of you that is disparate. He says you have to be aware of those that are trying to use your sense of fear or inadequacy or any kind of feelings of shame or not fitting in. He says, be aware of those that use their power or their doctrines to hurt you or to make you feel a desire to hurt others. He says that is what you have to think about. He says he doesn't want to try to convince you of anything. He just wants you to think about some of these things that he's bringing forth to you, to be aware that inclusivity is the only path that worked on other planets. And it was a struggle on other planets because inclusivity seems to be a challenge. He says you have to find a way to find a middle path, to find a way to accept each other, to understand that differences are going to be a natural occurrence, whether it is on your planet or whether it is on other planets, or when you come to find yourself face to face with those who do not look like you. See, now on Earth, he says, it is a practice realm for you to choose to be in an exclusive state where you only allow in those that you want to be in your area or your arena. He says, then you do that when you create this sense of exclusivity. You will naturally create a sense of tension and of discord because you create two opposites that by their very nature and through the very nature of exclusivity is based upon conflict. It is you against them. It is the creation of the other being and that other being as an opposite to you. And that whatever you hold as right or as correct or what you deem to be the truth, anyone therefore who goes against this system that you have created by building up a wall of exclusivity will be in opposition to it. So you only will be left with two options. One is to force those beings to comply with your belief systems and doctrines, whether this is secular or religious, or both. The other is that if those beings choose not to comply, if they choose to resist and stand in their own sovereignty, you then create violence, as you have seen on your planet, and as you have seen and as we are experiencing now on others planets or other solar systems as well. This is a choice to create discord and violence, or a simmering pot of, I can't understand here, I'm trying to hear him. He's showing me like a boiling pot of water. How do I translate a boiling pot of water? He's laughing. Like, boiling pot. Okay, I'm just going to go with the boiling pot. He's showing me a boiling pot of water. He says that's what you'll create, is this boiling pot of water that just keeps simmering and boiling. And yeah, okay. Now he laughs. He likes to tease me. So okay. Do you have anything else to say on that? Yes, he says yes. So if you focus more on inclusivity, you then allow for a variety of beliefs and ways of being. This will mitigate fear, because there is really nothing to fear in that state when everyone is allowing this concord, he says. I want to ask him, so what about, I feel that there'd be some people who will ask about issues of violence, or what about individuals who choose to act in ways that might be considered universally disruptive. I mean, I think it's probably a joke at this point, because we all know that, that's what's happening on Earth, where you have governmental systems and religious systems that are covering up massive and grotesque amounts of violence and spirit. I mean, I don't even know how to say what they've done, Anyway, I'm gonna ask him, like, how would you answer that question? Okay. He says you'll never eradicate that. There'll always be beings who choose that. And there's a certain sense of polarity that exists in life situations, especially when you have so many different beings with so many different life agendas, or ways in which they have been exposed to a variety of life experiences that may allow them to sorry about that, he's speaking, I'm trying to be predisposed to making those choices. But you need to hold compassion. He says that holding compassion is different from holding, and he's okay, I know what you're trying, he's trying not to like, Williams, let's like kind of slow this down a bit. All right. What do you mean by compassion? He says you have to hold compassion for those individuals who transgress by making these bad choices, and to ask why they've made those bad choices. He says this is completely separate from allowing them to continue to make bad choices. He says you need to interfere or intervene with individuals that choose that. He says, but don't be reactive. You need to offer compassion to victims who have experienced the actions and choices of those individuals who have done things that are universally wrong. He says that's why you need impartial parties to step in those kinds of arrangements. But understand that, let's say, making choices from compassion is the only way to change the path. He says if you continue to make choices from fear, from righteousness, from power, not that that will ever leave, he says. You just have to be aware of what you are doing and how you are guiding your population, with the ultimate goal of finding a means to grow You want to use, so he says, okay, he wants to use the word spiritually. Okay, I'm like, you want to use that word? Because, so he said, I'm just going to say that we don't have any religious associations when we say spiritually. Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to add there? He wants to share his great empathy for anyone who has experienced violence, whether that violence is from a fellow human, whether that violence was experienced from governments, whether that violence was experienced from religions, he says, whether that violence was experienced from those who just did not know what they do, as you say in your religions, right? There are people who do not know what they do. There are institutions who do not know what they do. But he wants to show empathy, and he's trying to focus. I want to focus everything onto the victims, not to hold you in victimhood. We're just going to use that term here. He wants to focus empathy on the victims. And he says sometimes those people who are perpetrators of these kinds of things are also victims themselves. That doesn't mitigate what they have done, and it doesn't take away, he says, their responsibilities for what they have done. But he says, in order to, again, move forward here, in a space where ultimately, he says, your goal is to mitigate, is to sort of eradicate, is to lessen. He says, if not eradicate, lessen. There has been some civilizations he wants to inform humanity, not to limit humanity, but there have been, and there are civilizations that have eradicated violence on their planets. He says he wants you to understand that you could attain that if that is what you choose. Everything is about your free will. He says at the moment you do not have free will on this planet. Well, you do have free will. He says you just don't realize it because you're not unifying under it. You're not unifying your visions. There's too many different. He's showing me like shards of glass. Like you had a pane of glass, you threw it on the floor, and it's all shards of glass. He says this is what is operating on Earth right now. If you've seen yourself whole, as if those shards of glass were somehow reconnected, he says that would help you to move forward in unity. He says it is in disunity right now. It is in exclusivity, is in disunity. He says, and he doesn't, how can we say this? I'm just gonna say it, okay? He wants you to understand, he wants you to consider that the purpose of the religions on your planet were to create the discord, were to create that once whole window pane to break in shards of glass. Now, he says, he isn't telling you to discard your religious beliefs. He says, I do not want that to happen at all. That is for you to decide personally. He is not judging any of your religions. He only wants to highlight a historical background that the religions were created to create discord, to create hatred, to foment fear, to foment violence, to take away your power. However, he says, please understand that many of you have already usurped the villains that had tried to steal your soul, that had tried to steal your power of thought, that had tried to cast you on paths of destruction. He says, so many of you have already risen above that, and you were able to take your religions and focus on those aspects of those religions that are about compassion and love, that are about viewing the earth, viewing all of those beings that exist amongst you, the plants, the animals, the elements, as part of a oneness. See, he says, if you can just understand and embrace those aspects of your religion that you know inside you are what you want, are those aspects of your religion that profess love, that profess this eternal light, that show you as magnificent beings. He says that is what you can focus on. It is not about throwing away your religions. No one wants you to throw away your religions. Those who choose to say that to you are misguided. He wants you to understand that. Because you, and why, wait a minute, let's pull this back a little bit. I don't have them stop them. Okay. Um, okay, let's just stop here for a little bit. So we're focusing, he says there's two aspects here. Because I'm telepathing with him without telling you what I'm saying. Just for quickness. He says there's two aspects that happened. And he says the religions on earth can be a beautiful thing, and that is his opinion, okay? He likes the religions on earth. He likes the beauty of them. He likes your rituals. He thinks that can really, really help you. And you like them too. And they can be very beautiful. So he wants you to understand that. And he knows that there will be a lot of beings, both on Earth and off planet, that will disagree with him, and they have every right to do so. He always wants to, he is just one man. He just sees beauty in you. He just sees beauty in your religious expressions. And he has been in, have you been in which church? He's been in a church. Okay. On the base? Off the base. Okay. How did you, I'm not going to get into that. But let's not go there. Okay. He says that he's showing me like a cathedral type church. He likes those. Okay. Not just, that just happens to be what he was able to access. Okay. Remember, Eeka has been human on Earth. Okay. So he's been human. He remembers that. He remembers because he is human now, of course. He is Pleiadian human, but he's been Earth human. He's been a Terran. We call it Terran. He loved being an Earth human. He loved being a Terran. He almost wish you long for that, don't you? He longs for that. It's that Terran aspect in me that he loves. Okay. And my body is Terran. He wants you to feel into that beauty. He wants you to feel into how beautiful you are. Okay. I'm holding a lot of that right now. It's very it's very nice. I want you to, let's just take a moment. I want you to feel that. He wants you to feel that beauty. He wants you to feel, so he doesn't want you just to understand the way that he loves you. Okay. He wants you just to feel that love. And if you can carry that love, he says that kind of love, isn't that the whole point of your religions? Whether you're Buddhist, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Catholic, whether you're, Baptist, whether you're a Presbyterian, whether you belong to any of the indigenous belief systems. Whatever, he says, look at the beauty of this creation that you have here on earth. He says you don't have to leave it in the hands of those who try to take the beauty of religion, of spiritual, right? Of the spiritual. He says you don't need to take, he says, and so many of you have already done this. He says, don't leave the power of your religions in the hands of those that used it for evil. Don't leave it in the hands of those who used it to hurt. Don't use it in the hands who use it for discord. Don't leave it in the hands of those who use it for violence. No religion professes violence. He says, and by any religion that includes that, or tries, he says this by default would not be a religion. It would be like he says, water that is dry. No religion can hold hatred. No religion can profess violence. And he says, to take your religion, whichever that is, since there's so many on earth, and there's, like he says, showing me this rainbow, this crystalline rainbow. Is there such a beautiful thing? It is like all of the arts that you created on this planet, your music, your dance, your clothes. They like earth. Your cars. This is going to be interesting. You guys they love cars. Your airplanes. The way you created institutions. It is simply a matter of choosing to use all of those things with benevolence, with a deep benevolence that's already inside of all of you. No one is born evil. Sadly, many have been tricked. Many have been under influences. And this is very sad. And that is why we try to support with empathy and compassion those amongst us who are suffering. And we never hold them in judgment. Because if you begin to do that, and I think we all know, I'm just going to step in here. I think, Eeka, we all know what happens when when we start using judgment. Because this is all about mindfulness, really, right? It's about people controlling how they think, and to stop before they act, and to stop before they judge, and to stop before they believe something. And this has nothing to do with anything. I'm talking now. If you just stop and hold that belief, what are you doing? What is I always say, the sustainable aspect of what you were trying to do with what you plan to do? I'm going to open it up to him again. He says, okay. He's holding his hands out like in a cup, like he's holding something precious. And he says, hold your creativity. That is the most beautiful thing you have. Because creativity is love. There can be no creation without love. There is only destruction. Okay, reflect back on the text of your religion. He says, reflect back on the beauty, reflect back on the love, reflect back on some of the rules, he says, that exist in your religious texts, and question them, question those rules. He says, don't question them in saying that they were wrong, right? He says, but just to observe them. Observe them and ask yourself, were they created in a beneficial arena? Were they created to assist people to find unity amongst themselves? Were they created to allow people to stop and think about how their actions would affect other beings? And he says the most important part of all of this is to go within yourself. That sounds cliche. I'm going to say that. I know. I know. He says, go within. Not in a new age. Okay, he's going on. He's not to go within in a new age. Not that there's any, he's not judging anything. He's just trying to say, when he's saying this, he's saying it from a different perspective. He's all of these religions, he says, whether they are involved with this new age as well. He's just wants to bring that up. Each one of you exists as an individual, but you also belong to a collective that goes beyond your planet. And he says, he knows, I know, he says, I know it's hard for some of you to understand this, and that's okay. He says, I know it's hard for you to understand that I exist. That's cute. That's okay. Okay. What if someone, because of their religions or for whatever reason, what if they were to meet you in person? What if they were to meet you in person? You stood before them. I would stand before them, yes. He says, as a man and nothing more. I would not judge them or anything like that. And it's okay for them to be afraid of me. It's okay for them to feel me and to not understand. I would only just stand there as I always do as a man, and I would just love them. Because I just want them to understand that. I don't have any agenda around them. And they don't have to be forced to love me. They don't have to be forced to stand near me. I would hold no shame in my own body or in who I am as a being, and I would hold no shame in them and who they are as a being. I would just ask them to hold some space between us, as far away as they need to be. I would never impose my energy upon them. I would never impose anything on them. And I would only stand in their presence as long as they feel comfortable. And even when they feel uncomfortable, to give them some time to consider who I am and that I love them and that I understand their fear. I understand where that fear came from. But I would never, and he just wants to be really clear about this. While he can only speak for himself, he says, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for other people, but I know, he says, that the other extraterrestrials, we never use, so funny, it's going to use that word, the other aliens, the other extraterrestrials, when they come to your planet, as they already are here, he wants you to know they are. I know they're already here. He just asks you to give us some time so that you can actually use your religion and the teachings of your religion that are to embrace love. He says, isn't that true? Doesn't your religion say that? Doesn't your religion say to forgive and to embrace all others? He says, please, does your religion only say to embrace and love those who are born on earth? Do you not think your religion would also allow that love for others who were not born on your planet? That simply not being born on your planet does not make them. What do you want to say? I know I'm trying. He has so many feelings here. So I can't really try and like, I want to find the right word. What word do you want to use? He says that he who is without sin cast the first stone. He wants you to just think about that. No one is perfect, he says. No one is perfect. And it's okay not to be perfect. But he wants us to say that. He who is without sin cast the first stone. He says, wasn't there a religion? He goes, I know what it is. He knows what it is too. He's actually spent a lot of time. He just likes you guys so much. And he spent a lot of time learning all the different religions. So I try to experience them as you do. I've been there. I've been you. I've lived in a human body and I've experienced these things. And I remember when we were in Egypt, that's going to be for a separate occasion, I think, when we were in Egypt. Yeah. We were in Atlantis. We were in England together. We were human in England. All you and me were human in England, but I wasn't with you then. I wasn't with you. Yeah. He says just to think about this. He need like what I mean, yeah, we just talked about that, what about people who just see you as I think he wants you to reflect on this. The concept where some of you, and again, this is not, I just want to be clear with this. He's not judging you. He's just observing that he knows there's many of you who would either been told or you feel that inside you that somehow some extraterrestrials like himself are not benevolent, are demonic or whatever form of evil that you think. It's very painful. I don't know how else to describe. Like he doesn't understand how he can, other than share his love, because he's not trying to convince you of anything, and that's where that's what he says. He just wants you to feel it inside of you to give him a chance. He says, does your religion not allow people to have a chance? He wants you to think about that. So I think we'll actually end this recording here with that, to find maybe a way within ourselves, all of us, not just, it's all of us, to open up, to give others a chance. And, maybe when we take some time to not judge, maybe to set aside our fear, to try to just be ourselves, not a persona, but just to be ourselves for a moment and to sit quietly and to ask ourselves just what you want out of your world. Do you want love? Because everything is either creation or destruction. Everything is a fabrication, right? You are making it. Everything is made. So sitting within yourself and decide if you would like to have more love in your life or not. And with that, Eeka and I, he wants to hug you. He's like, oh, hug everybody. He sends a hug to everyone. And yeah, something to walk away from. So blessings to all, and he's always open to talk to you, as I always say. Okay.